Today is December 1st, 1989. My name is Justin and I am 15 years old. And I am making this video because my social studies teacher, Mr. Johnson, wants me to make a video about what it's like to be a teen in the 1980s for the future generations to see. So come along and explore my journey with me. So here is my bike, and it is the mint green one. And in the 80s, to travel around, teens my age, but specifically the younger teens, had to use bikes to travel around, especially if we wanted to go places like our friend's house or the mall. Today, I will be traveling to the mall with my bike. And here we are at the mall, and at the mall, lots of teenagers and young adults spend lots of time at the mall, and I'm going to show you around the mall. I hope you enjoy the view. Now, I will be later going to the arcade where most of the young kids and young teens hang out. And here we are at the arcade where, like I said, young kids and young teens hang out. My favorite games at the arcade are Super Mario, Pac-Man, and Tetris. They are very fun, and I hope the later generation love these games. Right now, I am in my pajamas, as you can see, and I'll be going over the most memorable things about the 80s decade, both good and bad. So I'm about to get into this list. So it's not in any particular order. So let's begin the list. We could describe every 80s event in the world with one single slang word, like Sloppy Joes, gnarly, the Challenger's space explosion, gnarly, the Rubik's Cube, gnarly, hanging out with friends at the arcade. So, gnarly can mean both good or bad depending on its context. So, in this case, Sloppy Joe's, the Rubik's Cube, and hanging out with friends at the arcade are all part of the positive gnarly, while the negative gnarly describes something like the Challenger space explosion. I really like that slang word because it can describe both anything, and it makes me feel like a California surfer, but I'm not that. So enough about that. So another word for positive gnarly can mean awesome sauce. Like, I can describe Sloppy Joe's, hanging out with friends at the arcade, and the Rubik's Cube as awesome sauce. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the negative gnarlies about the 80s decade. There are two negative gnarly things that I would be talking about in this section. So the first one is the Challenger explosion back in 1986, and I was traumatized by it. We watched it in class, and I was like 12 years old, and all 7 members died. I thought it would be successful, but apparently it was not. I never wanted to be an astronaut anyway, so yeah, I'm safe for sure. The second and negative gnarly thing I would be talking about is how gay men were treated during the AIDS crisis, and how they were treated like they were some weird freaks who could only get this disease, but it was proven that anybody could get this disease. But thankfully, a positive gnarly thing happened when the AIDS movement happened, and they wanted research, not hysteria. I think that was one of the slogans during the era. And speaking of positive gnarlies, I can't wait to talk about my positive gnarlies right now. I am a music person, and I love the introduction of the CD in 1982, and it stands for compact disc. Fun fact, the first album to be released on a CD was Billy Joel's 52nd in Street. My favorite its singers are Michael Jackson, Madonna, Wham, and Guns N' Roses. I love their music, and I have all their songs on all their albums on CDs, but I can't show it off because they're in at my friend's house, and I gave it to him, and he will retrieve it back tomorrow. So imagine there are CDs here. Yeah, imagine that. About Sloppy Joes, remember when I said in my mini song about it? Well, Sloppy Joes are popular food in the 80s. They're like a hamburger made out of ground beef and onions and tomato sauce or ketchup. And trust me, they are really delicious. And I hope they carry out in the later decades to come. Now let's talk about my favorite games and toys. So I love the Game Boy, which came out in 1989, and I could play Super Mario on it. And did you know that Super Mario was released back in 1985? And I also like playing Pac-Man, as I mentioned in my arcade trip. And that came out in 1980. And I also love the Rubik's Cube, which came out in the 1981. So yeah, those are my favorite toys and funs and games and stuff. Get political and talk about the Reaganomics. So in 1981, Ronald Reagan was elected as president, and he made this thing called Reaganomics. So here are the pros and cons about it. So yes, it did have economic growth and reduced inflation. However, it increased national debt and income inequality. So it's more of a neutral thing. Personally, I'm not really into politics, but I did hear about the news, and I like to hear everything about from the news. So my opinion is like middle ground. Also, in 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of the Soviet Union at the time, and he wanted to create glasnost and perestroika, which is freedom of speech and economic reform and market economy, respectively. I think this was a benefit because he wanted to see some change in positivity, so I'll give him kudos for that. I can't snap, by the way, but at least I'm snapping. And now, in 1989, the Berlin Wall fell down, which I'm very happy about, and we could see the whole Berlin city be reunited after years of communism dividing the city, and I'm very happy about it. I'm going to be talking about my favorite 80s TV shows. So my favorite TV shows from the 80s are Full House, Growing Pains, and Golden Girls, while my favorite movies from the 80s are The Breakfast Club, and Top Gun, and Blade Runner, and Do the Right Thing. So these are my favorite movies from the 80s. And don't forget Nightmare on Elm Street. I almost forgot about that. So yeah, my favorite media. I hope the watcher watching this also likes these types of media. Last thing before I go, about something that is positive, gnarly. MTV. I really love MTV. It was introduced in 1981 and it played music videos 24/7. And I really like MTV. I watch it every time if I have free time at home. So yeah, I really love MTV, and I also love my guilty pleasure of positive gnarly are the aerobatic workout videos that my parents specifically my mom does like every Saturday night, and it's really good and beneficial, so I'll give them that. Anyways, this video will be not found for like another 35 years. So I hope the future world can go see this video when it's dug up. So bye everyone who's watching it. No, I actually mean Hi. Sorry, so yeah, I can't wait to see the people watching this think of this video.